everybody. Happy Wednesday. Cheers and welcome to Trades Lady Happy Hour. If you are new here, this is the weekly Instagram Live series where each week we meet with a different incredible woman in the trades. This is all about celebrating the women who are out there just absolutely killing it. There's not a lot of women out there. However, there are a lot of us, if that makes sense. Very small percentage, less than 2.5% of all automotive technicians. And I believe it's probably pretty similar across the board with other trades. So there's not a huge percentage, but there are a ton of incredible women out there, and they often don't get their stories heard or get a light shown on them. So that's what this is all about. Those of you who have been here before, welcome back. Appreciate your support. I do also have to thank our sponsor, Drive Time, for helping continue to make this possible and for their support of women in the trades. So big thank you to them. And tonight, I'm really excited to meet tonight's guest. Her name is Haley Engel, and she is currently a heavy equipment technician for CAT. Now, she's done a number of different things in her earlier career. She's taken kind of a windy path to get to where she's at now. I'm really excited to hear her story and to hear more about what she does and how she's doing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and see if she is here live. There you are. Understanding that Haley is in her truck right now, so hopefully internet connection will oblige and life will be good. I know we've had lots of technical difficulties in the past, so hi.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Good. You're just hanging out in your truck?
Yeah, I worked, had some dinner with coworkers, so I'm just hanging out.
Night. What time zone are you in? Where are you?
I'm Central. It's 7
Oh,
here.
okay. That's not that bad. Okay. I'm like, I haven't even thought about dinner yet. But that's also because I'm awful and I forget to eat a lot. But welcome. It's really nice to meet you finally.
Cool.
So tell the fine folks at home a little bit about you, what you do, just in a nutshell, and then we'll go back in time and hear all about your story.
Okay. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic at the local cat dealer. I've been back at the cat dealer since April, and
Okay.
I am currently transferring into a field service position.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is. I haven't been around equipment a lot. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm like really excited about it.
That's super. How long have you been doing heavy equipment?
Since April.
Oh, that's it. Okay. So what were you doing with Cat before April? Or when
Worked
you,
there. So I was in their over the road truck shop, and
okay.
for that I was actually selling equipment, which that
Oh.
that didn't last very long.
Not for you, huh?
It was not for me. I need to be hands on. I mean, sales is awesome, but it just isn't the right time.
Fair enough. Sales is not awesome. We don't have to lie about that. I guess it's awesome for some people. It is not for me either. So.
No.
All right. So you've had kind of an interesting path. Already we're getting a taste of that. You did not set out to do this initially as far as heavy equipment goes, but you've kind of always been interested in the mechanical side of things, correct?
Yes.
All right. So how did this all start for you?
So I spent summers with my grandparents,
Okay.
and they lived on the river. So we were always riding four-wheelers, always working on their boats, everything from a fishing boat to a pontoon to a little 300 four-wheeler. So I was constantly just working on stuff. And I grew
How
up
old how old were you at that point?
since I could walk. I've been spending some.
Working on stuff. Was there ever any like question about that when you were like expressing interest in doing things, or were you just kind of it was totally normal for you to be hands-on when you were young?
It was very normal to be, especially I spent most of my time with my older brother and his friends and my older cousin. because there was just the two boys and then me, and then all the other cousins were girls.
Oh,
And my
wow.
everywhere with him. So it was just constant. What are we gonna break today, just so we can fix it?
I like that. New twist on taking things apart just to see how they work. What are we going to break? I like that. So you started out doing this when you were super young. Was there a point at which you were like, yes, this is what I want to do professionally?
It probably didn't really hit me that this is what I wanted to do as a career until I was about 17.
Okay.
I started college at about 16, 17. I was doing a co op program,
Oh,
and I was actually going to school to be a vet.
interesting.
And after spending time with my equine vet, I realized that really wasn't for me. And it's kind of my fallback, but I fell in love with it. So
With a mechanical?
yes.
All right. Can I ask what was it about being a vet that wound up not sitting right or resonating for you?
Uh, Putting animals down and not being able to save sick animals. We can almost always bring an engine or a machine back to life, but with animals, it didn't really sit right with me.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And yes, absolutely. I don't think I could be a doctor. I don't think I could be a vet. But yeah, I'd never thought about it in those terms. Like we can always bring a car back to life. That
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So once you made the decision, um, well, first of all, was your family shocked at all by this, or were they super supportive?
they were really supportive. They're used to me being very out there. I guess that's a good word for it. I've always kind of broke the mold, kind of made a point to break the mold. So
was was that like the mission to break the mold, or it just came naturally to you and it was just you following your heart?
that was me following my heart. I kind of feel like subconsciously I was intentionally breaking the mold. Um,
I can so resonate with that. Like I did intentionally want to break the mold. Like I did not care about mechanical stuff when I was a kid at all. And it was purely the like, what do you mean I can't? I was out to prove a point and then I fell in love with it kind of
yeah,
like accidentally.
that was my biggest motivator. Was so many people saying you can't do this, and I was just like, I really don't want to, but I guess I have to. And then I fell in love with it.
Interesting. Who in your life was telling you that you couldn't do it?
Um, Everybody other than like family, friends, um, newfound coworkers when I started my first job. Is pretty much everybody.
So, how did you? I have a lot of questions. I'm going to try to decide which one to ask you first. So, well, let's ask first. Like, how did you handle that when people were saying no to you? I mean, I know how I handled it, but I know there's a lot of women out there experiencing the same thing. So, what was your approach?
So at 16, 17 years old, my initial reaction was like, "Oh, really?" And it kind of ticked me off. And so I was like, I have to do something about this. I have to do it. I don't really have a choice but to make it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, my feelings are a little hurt. It's crazy how with age, how that changes.
100%. I totally agree. Like when you're young, you're like, oh, I'm a fight.
Absolutely.
I love it. So you had gone to college. Did you, or started college? Did you quit? Did you continue in college before you transitioned to doing other stuff?
So I have been on and off in college since I think 16, 17. It's been a journey. Because I'm not a college person, but I have long term goals that keep motivating me to continue and finish college. Um,
Okay.
but I don't even, when you say college, I'm just like, which part of college? I don't,
So are you just like taking classes here and there as you go, or have you been just like in and out of that path?
I was in and out for a while, then I got consistent, but when COVID hit, I quit altogether. So I'm finally getting back into it.
Nice.
But that's kind of been a journey because now I live by myself. I work full time. I rescue animals. I work at a rescue on top of having my own rescue animals. So it's like, how do you navigate it?
How do you navigate it?
Sometimes I wonder if I actually navigate it.
I feel you. I so feel that. Do you sleep at all?
I try.
So that's a no. So you're just going
Yeah.
nonstop. So these plans, these long-term plans that you have, they must be pretty big and motivating. Are you able to share? Are you willing to share?
Yeah. So I want to stay in the blue collar industry, if you will, but I don't know that I want to be a field service technician on heavy equipment forever. I would really enjoy going into maybe management,
Okay.
maybe in the service department and help mentor and teach young technicians and help them grow, or maybe even a sales position and use what I've learned as a technician,
That's awesome.
grow from there.
That's really cool and smart. I mean, I feel like that's something that we don't talk about often as trades folks is like you do get to a point where your body is like screw you. This is not happening anymore and to have something else to plan for and transition to. I was just talking about that with a bunch of folks in the dealership world about how like we don't really have good paths for our technicians of like what's next. Like
Right.
what do you do when your body gets tired and what's that next step for you? So that's really cool. Are you taking like business classes in college or what's the
So I started really focusing on college as a mechanical engineer major,
nice?
but I decided to actually transfer most of those credits over to industrial distribution with a focus in mechanical engineering so I could kind of go either direction.
Okay. Explain that degree for me because I'm not familiar with that.
So industrial distribution is basically a business degree, but you have an engineering background. So I'm having to take both courses, business classes and engineering classes. So I could forward and be an engineer at like, let's say it was Cummins as an example. I could go be one of their engineers and travel and help with problems that technicians can't figure out. Or I
Yeah.
could go. So
That's awesome. I love it. Got to have options. Very cool. So, do you have a graduation date set for this program, or is it just as you can squeeze it in?
as I can squeeze it in, the sooner the better. But as much as I work, if I graduate in the next 10 years, I'll be happy.
I think that's fair. I have a feeling you're probably going to do it a lot sooner than that. You seem pretty ambitious.
I hope so.
Do you have a support system that helps you make all of this possible? It's easy for like us to like talk about all the crazy things that we're doing, and then folks at home are like, I can't do that in my life. How is she doing that? How do you manage?
I was very fortunate. My parents are both very supportive. Um, but in addition to that, I've just really worked to have a good support system with my coworkers and my supervisors, and I've been very fortunate for that because previous employers weren't so keen on supporting a female, but I was very fortunate, and it didn't come easy. I had to, prove myself and work really hard to be like, hey, I belong here too.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Talk about your early career and what that looked like.
So I started at a local off-road shop,
Okay.
sweeping floors. They eventually moved me into parts and service. I was putting lift kits together,
Okay.
doing inventory. I would clean RVs because they also rented RVs there.
Okay.
Then I moved on to helping with leveling kits, lift kits. I would work on the owner's personal vehicles.
Nice.
And when I turned 18, I applied at Peterbilt, and that's kind of where it all really took off.
Okay. And that first job where you started sweeping floors, I like have to thank you for saying that because so many people are like, I just want to dive right in. I'm like, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
Like we pay our dues. So you were 17 at this time,
Yes.
and how did that go with them? Like they were allowing you to work on vehicles at some point there. How did that transition happen? And what was their support level, I guess, or reaction to you as a woman wanting to do this?
At first, it was kind of okay, she thinks she wants to do this. Is she actually going to be able to do it? And as some of the guys on the floor got to know me, they kind of pushed for me to start working with them. So I was very fortunate there. But even till my last day there were comments made like, "Hey, when it doesn't work out at Peterbilt, you have a place here." So it
Which is like a backhanded, sort of weird, like, it's a
yeah,
compliment that you're welcome back, and why would I not make
yeah, exactly.
it? Interesting. Was it like they didn't want you to leave, or did they think that you weren't going to make it there?
I feel like it was a little bit of both. Because to this day, I still have a pretty good relationship with the family that owns it.
That's cool.
So I feel like it was kind of like a hey, she might not make it out there in the trucking industry because it's brutal, and she's also doing a good job here at 17,
Yeah.
selling service and parts.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a, you know,
Little bit of all of the above.
right,
So what position did you apply for and get hired for at Peterbilt?
service technician.
Okay. Now, had you done any schooling at this point, or were you just kind of self-taught through that job that you had?
So I was in technical school at this point, and I think that's kind of what got me in the door. But also, the service manager at the time was like, hey, he's interested. Let's do it. Because his boss didn't want to put me on the floor, he wanted me to be a service advisor.
Okay.
The manager at the time was like, she wants to be on the floor. Let's put her on the floor.
So you've had some great advocates throughout
Yeah,
your path.
I've been very lucky.
It sounds like it. And yet at the same time still dealing with a lot of the negativity from other sources.
Yes. If I hadn't had that strong management from the start, it could have gone very, very bad.
Very different story altogether. So you're in technical school and you're working at Peterbilt. Are you still in technical school while you're working there?
Yes. I slowly kind of quit going. I would do some test outs because it was considered a co-op at that point.
Okay. Tell me what you mean by that.
So you get your lab hours by working, and you
Okay.
basically turn in some sort of confirmation that hey, I have a job, I'm here.
Okay.
So as long as you do your homework and take your test, you're good.
Okay. Was this specifically a technical school or was it like a community college or?
It was a community college.
Okay. Very cool. How long of a program was it supposed to be?
So they had different options. They had certificates, and associate's degrees.
And
So
how long did it take you? Since you were testing out of stuff.
the associates took me about 2.5 years.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad.
No, that's not bad at all, especially if you're juggling working at the same time.
Right.
Excuse me. So was it always trucks that you want or big equipment that you wanted to do?
No. I actually wanted to apply to the cat dealer when I applied to Peterbilt, but I was terrified. I was like, this stuff's big, it's heavy, I'm tiny. I mean, and it's
Peterbilt isn't small either.
you're right, but something about the cat dealership is just it's intimidating. It's a worldwide company, and this stuff is huge.
Yeah.
And they have this reputation of like top notch A plus mechanics. And I was like, I'm just gonna go apply to truck dealerships and see who calls.
All right. I appreciate your honesty. So, but Peterbilt is still, I mean, Peterbilt's a big name and big, it's big stuff still, right? Like it's
Yeah,
diesel, it's trucks. Was that always your interest in like diesel and that side of things?
yes and no. When I applied to all these truck dealerships, like this is really cool because I was really big into show trucks when I
Okay.
was. Granted, I didn't know anything about building engines and all that and gas motors. If you asked me about a gas motor right now, I'd probably be like, let me look it up real quick.
That's all right. We all know what we know, and that's like there's stuff that we don't know. That's okay.
Right. But I remember going to these truck shows and I saw some of these big trucks and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Plus, my grandfather was a truck driver
Okay.
while I was around it. So I put two and two together and I was like, this is it.
Do you think there was a part of it just knowing your kind of, or at least hearing a little bit of your like, oh, they told me I couldn't, so I'm gonna. Was there a piece of it that was like, this is even more of an intimidating or challenging sort of field than going into automotive that allured you to it or attracted you to it, or was it just purely the passion for it?
I think it was a little bit of both. It's kind of like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go big.
Literally.
But I'm not going to lie, when I first walked into Peterbilt to start my first day, I was terrified. I sat in my truck by myself during my lunch break and I was like, what am I doing here?
How did the guys that you worked with receive you on your first day?
Some of them were really supportive, and then there were others that were like, why is she here? She shouldn't be here. I even had one come up to me about 6 or 7 months into working there, and he told me he was wrong about me.
Nice.
But the first 6 or 7 months, he wouldn't even talk to me. Not a good morning, not a smile in passing, just ignored me completely.
Interesting. It's always such a satisfying moment though when it comes around and
Right.
it. So how did you deal with the folks that were not just ignoring you but actively telling you that maybe you didn't belong there, you shouldn't be there?
I used it as motivation, and I worked my you know what off um, to get.
You can curse, it's okay.
I've been holding back. I was like, I don't know what I can and can't say.
This is just a casual little happy hour live. It is fine. You be you.
But no, it just I don't know. Talking about it, like still to this day, it gets me wound up because I'm still dealing with it.
Are you? Talk to me about that a little bit if you're okay with it. You have fire, you have passion, you're using it as motivation. it
Mm-hmm.
still it still gets to you, right? and
Right.
and how do we balance that and like, yes, acknowledge that it hurts us and keep going, and how does it affect you?
It has been affecting me more in the past month or so than it has in my whole career.
Why
I,
is that?
I'm transferring to field service, and that is a very desired position.
Okay.
And I think that I'm the first earth moving field service technician at our dealership. So I've been getting a lot of pushback. I'm one of the first earth moving female technicians, period.
Oh wow. Like nationally? Wow. Okay.
So I've been getting a lot of pushback from the day I started. And I understand where it's coming from because the earth moving industry isn't quite as evolved as the trucking industry. There's a lot more female truck technicians than there are moving.
Okay. I mean that makes a certain amount of sense, although I'm surprised to hear that there's a lot of female truck technicians. as well. I mean, I've met a few throughout the course of doing these happy hours, but I would think that the trucking industry is equally um, not super welcoming of women.
It is, at least in the South, there's more in the South. Actually, my second year at Peterbilt, I think, might have been the end of my first. I worked with another female who had been doing this for years prior to me.
Oh, wow. How was that?
That was awesome. She was just laid back. She was one of the guys, and it helped me a lot being able to work with her and see, like, okay, she can do this. She can build these engines. She can do all the same shit that the guys can do.
Yes.
I can do it too. And she was maybe 5 inches taller than me. She was just one of the coolest girls I've ever met.
That is, are you still in touch with her?
Slightly. She actually moved back to her home state. So, but luckily at the cat dealer, we have 3 or 4 other female technicians.
Nice. That's awesome. I, it's so important to have those visible mentors and to actually have one that you get to work with as well as like that's such a game changer, I think, for young women coming into the industry. Do you think having her there or having worked there before you made a difference in how you were received?
I think once she started, some of the guys that kind of pushed back a little bit on females working there changed their outlook on it and their attitude. That got more respect, and a lot more support
Yeah.
when she started.
You were still a baby at the time. I mean, you were still like what, 18, 19 years old at
I
this
was,
point?
I'm still a baby.
I mean, we're all, how old are you? Do you mind?
I'm 25.
Oh, you are still a baby. Oh my goodness. So this is like all of this is within the last like couple of years, really.
Yes.
So you went from knowing very little, taking technical classes, working sweeping floors to now being a field service tech as an earth mover on earth moving equipment. Oh my God. You weren't kidding when you said you worked your butt off. This is awesome. I love it.
It has been crazy.
That's fantastic. Okay, so Peterbilt, you were there for how long?
About 3 years.
Okay. And you were working mostly on trucks there, yes?
Yes.
And what kind of work did you do on trucks?
Engine, electrical, after treatment, pretty much anything diagnostic wise,
Okay.
what I worked on.
The stuff that scares most people, the diagnostic stuff.
That's my comfort zone, though.
I love it. How so? Why so? What is it you like about it?
I like there always being a challenge. I always have to have a challenge. I like
Just
to
doesn't shock me.
yeah, I like working with my brain rather than physical labor. And I think that's my biggest challenge since I've transferred to earth moving.
Okay.
Is they're just now starting to get electrical and after treatment and all these things that have been in the trucking industry, because trucking is kind of almost hand in hand with automotive. So the technology is progressing maybe 2 years behind automotive.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the earth moving industry is just now starting to see after treatment just the past 5 years. Versus trucking, it's been on it since what, '08, I think? Close to.
Interesting. So it's been purely mechanical up until recently. Okay.
And that's a lot of the pushbacks coming from, because I'll be honest with you, I can't swing a hammer.
Okay, but you know which end of the screwdriver to hold, and I'm sure you can hold your own with mechanical stuff.
See a 16-pound sledgehammer versus a 4'10" Haley. It's funny.
You're 4'10".
Yes.
Oh, you are wee. Do you get like funny looks from people when you show up places or people see you on the job at the dealership or whatever, and you're like this petite little thing.
Hmm. There have been comments made when I show up to a job where the customer thinks that the mechanic I'm working with, partnering with, they think I'm his like wife or his girlfriend.
Take your daughter to work day.
Yeah. And then I'm just like, no, I'm here to fix your tractor, sir.
do, do do you get different results or different responses to that?
There, I go along with it. And then there's just some days where I'm just like, don't say anything. Don't say it. Phone call.
Do you ever get any customers who are like, "Oh hell no, I don't want this little girl working on my equipment"?
Yes. And that's something that's happened since day one. I've always had really good management. And luckily, where I'm at now, I have really good management backing me because, I mean, the chances of that happening, I show up to a job site, I hop out of a 750, and I'm this little girl that can barely reach the door handle of the truck she's driving. No, we don't want her working on our equipment. Cause a scene. I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
And how do you handle that when they're pushing back like that?
Ooh, see, it depends on the day. Most of the time, I'm just straight up with them. I'm like, hey, I specialize in this, and this is what's going on with your machine. So you can either let me fix it, or we can put you back in the queue, and we'll send a man out here in 2 weeks.
Perfect. I love it. And it makes a world of difference having management that has your back. So you're moving into field service now, but you've done job site stuff previously. So in what capacity were you doing that? Was that still with Cat, or was that back when you were with Peterbilt?
So that's primarily been with CAT. Part of the procedure for moving into field service is to spend time with the field service technicians and at the job sites with them and see if you're going to be a good fit, see if you actually want to do it.
Gotcha. All right, so we're jumping all over the place because I just have so many questions. But excuse me, when you said that at some point, like you were super intimidated by Cat. When did you get the courage to go and apply for them and decide that is like you wanted to move into that arena?
So it wasn't actually until about March, April of this year. I worked for CAT previously. I was in machine sales and product support, and that lasted for about 3 months. But I got to spend time with the equipment, and I realized I really enjoyed it. From there, I spoke with the service manager at the time about transferring into the heavy equipment shop, but I was still intimidated by it. So I went and worked in the truck shop at CAT and built engines.
Okay.
So it took a couple months of me talking to coworkers and really seeing that, hey, if I can't pick this up, that guy's not going to be able to pick it up. We have special tooling for this. It was just overwhelming and really intimidating.
I guess like I want to dig into that and like how you got over that intimidation. Was it just time seeing stuff, or
It was a little bit of everything. During my time in sales, I got to know a lot of the technicians, and I kept in contact with them and just slowly kind of saw how they were doing jobs. You know, they would send me Snapchats of the job site they were at, and we would talk about how they did it. And I guess over time, I just kind of realized
it's not as scary?
I would think back to the times when I was pushing brooms and doing inventory. I never imagined I would be at Peterbilt pulling engines on day one.
Right.
if I could do that, then why not give it a shot? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And look at you now. How did you wind up doing parts and service at Cat? How did that jump happen?
I wanted a change in scenery. I know I didn't want to be a mechanic forever, and a job actually came open, and I just applied for it, and it ended up being a really high level job. Um, and luckily, my resume caught the eye of the hiring manager for that position, and he said, "Hey, just hold on, stay with me, give it about 4 or 5 months. I have
Okay.
the perfect position coming open." And it ended up being an entry level sales position.
Okay. That's awesome. So originally you applied for the hire, if I'm understanding correctly, and he had you just wait for the right position to come open.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So go ahead.
it was just a lot of putting myself out there, not what was going to happen, just kind of going for it.
So you move away from doing the mechanical work to go into sales and service, and you wind up back doing mechanical work. Are are you, I guess, do are you happy with that decision? Or how long do you see yourself wanting to do this?
I'm extremely happy with that decision. I'm very glad I went into sales, and I'm very glad it didn't work out because I learned a lot from those few months that I was in that position. I learned a lot about how the world works, and I also learned a lot about myself. I didn't realize how much I loved turning wrenches until I was away from it for 3 months.
Isn't that interesting how that happens? Were there other life lessons in that? You said you learned a lot about yourself. Was it other than the turning wrenches that you learned?
Um, Not as much of a people person as I thought I was.
You seem like a total people person.
Uh, I am, but I'm not. Like, deep down, I feel like every mechanic would just love to just crawl in a hole and work on something all day by themselves.
Yes. It's funny. Everybody, like, nobody believes me when I say that I'm an introvert because I don't act like one. But I am so an introvert. I can work at the shop all day long in silence by myself and be totally happy.
Yeah, that is me.
All right. It's good to recognize these things about it. It took COVID for me to realize, like, the whole everything, like lockdown, for me to realize that I really did love being an introvert.
Same. After COVID, I was like, wow, this is great.
Yes. All of my friends were like, this is so hard. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Oh, us mechanics are kind of effed up people, aren't we? But in the best way possible.
I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
No. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, so you were at Cat, you were doing sales, you decided to go back into mechanical. You said that you had left Cat briefly and come back to it. So when you went back into mechanical, was it somewhere else? Or did you go do something else after the sales position?
I was in the truck engine shop at Cat for a few months, and then I
Okay.
went back to the local Kenworth dealership
Okay.
where I prior to Cat,
Okay.
and that's kind of where I got involved in the ATA, and I got involved in the local technical college.
Okay. What are you doing with, tell me what ATA is and then what you do with them in the technical college.
So that's the Alabama Trucking Association, and at the time, the chairman, well, he's now the owner of that dealership, was the ATA chairman here.
Okay.
Got me involved, and I did a lot of interviews for the ATA, talking about young and upcoming technicians.
Nice.
And that got me involved in the local technical college where I went and I spoke, and I would help out at nighttime in the shop.
Nice.
I wish I had have grown more, but then I made the transition to Cat, and the hours just, they didn't line up because Cat's also partnered with that same college, but now I kind of live at work. So
How long of days are you working?
we are working tens, sometimes longer, and we're working 6 days a week.
Oh my gosh. Normally you hear people doing tens, they're like four tens, not six tens.
So our hours vary, but I think for the past, I don't know, 4 months, we've been working 6 days a week.
Wow. Is it just because it's crazy busy?
We are slammed. So it's the shop and field service. We're,
Okay.
we're living there. I'm about to move my mailbox there and just forward it all.
Get a little pull-out couch.
Yeah,
That's a lot though. Does that have to do with like the trade shortage, or is that just business is really good right now?
I think it's a little both. I'm at the corporate location, so we have a lot of really big jobs. We have a lot of rebuilds where we tear the machine down to the bare frame and replace everything. And on top of that, we have normal customer equipment coming in to get fixed. And I think altogether, which this sounds like a lot, but it's really not, I think we have maybe 30 technicians in the shop.
The equipment you're working on, I imagine it's not generally a one person job with those big earth movers.
For the most part, no.
Did you work with a team? How does that work?
It's different every day and it's different on every job.
Okay.
So I'm one of the technicians that's on a major rebuild. So I am dedicated to that job with with another technician from the time it came in till the time it leaves. But right now, while we're waiting on all the components to be sandblasted and engine be rebuilt, I'm working on who knows how many other pieces of equipment, and I'm in and out of the shop because I'm transferring to the field. So I am all over the place. I show up to work and I'm just like, where am I going today?
It sounds like it. How how long does one of those major rebuilds take? And are you like gonna have to finish it before you transition to field service?
So, depending on the rebuild, it can take, I've seen them done in 2, 3 months. Mine has been in the shop since, I want to say, late May, early June. So, hopefully, we'll be done by the end of the year.
Wow.
Some are more major than others. Um, but I'm married to this one, if you will. So, I'll
Sounds like
work on it, and then we'll get to a stopping point, and I'll go in the field. And then something else come back in, and I'll be back on it. It's You can't be a person that likes to plan.
I was gonna say, how does that? Do you enjoy the something different every day? Does it stress you out?
Yes, both. I I hate repetition, but at the same time, part of me wants to know where I'm going to be and how long I'm going to be working, just because of how my home life is. But if I had to choose steady schedule with repetition or working 6, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
not knowing when I'm going to get home, I would definitely be out all night if I had to.
Choose the adventure over the monotony. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you're doing like all sorts of different kind of work every day, even within like yes, you're jumping from field to this major rebuild, but I'm assuming the automotive world we call it bumper to bumper, but you're doing this major rebuild. Obviously, you're doing all of the things. What kind of variety or what kind of stuff? I know nothing about earth movers, so like help me understand what all is involved and what kind of work you're doing on these guys.
It's still a learning experience for me because I've only been in it since April. But I will literally go from pulling a head off an engine to replacing an equalizer bar and a dozer. So I go from the technical stuff I'm used to doing heavy work where I have to swing the hammer.
And they're probably really big hammers too.
Like small that some of these just the tripod I have to pick up with the crane to sit it on to bolt it down. Whereas some of the guys are just picking it up and swinging it on there, and
Right. Although their backs will hate them for that at some point soon.
they're not. But yes, it will.
Can pick it up and should pick it up are two very different things.
I guess it's a guy thing.
I think so. It's that like, oh, look at this massive thing that I can pick up. And you're like, that's great. Tell me how you feel about that in 20 years when your back is shot.
Hmm. Some of these guys look a lot older than they are. Let's put it that way. They're seasoned.
It's hard on the body. I can only imagine working on cars is hard on the body. I can't imagine the kind of work that you're doing, how intense that must be. Do you do anything to kind of like keep your body healthy through all of this?
I just hope for the best. Um, I sleep as much as I can. I used to feel guilty about sleeping a half day on my day off because I have so much to do at home. But I'm at the point where I'm just like, I need this. I mean, I'm only 25 and I can't run off the 3 hours of sleep like I could when I was 21.
And it gets worse.
I'm already feeling like this at 25.
Yeah.
If I could use the crane to pick up a wrench, I would. I mean,
Well, your wrenches are big, to be fair.
oh my gosh, yes, they are. The amount of tools I have had to purchase transferring from trucks to equipment is insane.
Because it's massive. You're doing like much more massive size tools.
Oh, and they're so much more expensive.
Oh, I bet. Okay, so the stat that I've heard for the average auto mechanic is that, after 20 years in the industry, you're gonna own $50,000 to $100,000 worth of tools. I'm assuming it's like way worse on the trucking and earth moving side.
So I started buying tools in 2013,
Okay.
and I am now at about, I think last time I did an audit 6 months ago, I was at 75,000.
At 25.
Yes.
This is the thing, like that's the thing that I want to like shout off the rooftops to people. Like people have no idea the investment that technicians have to make because you're buying all of your own tools. Like,
Right.
I'm assuming they supply some stuff or no.
So yes and no. Trucking wise, they supply a lot of the specialty tools.
Okay.
At the cat dealer that I work at, they supply a lot of the bigger sockets and the bigger wrenches. And that's all fine and dandy in the shop. But now that I'm going into the field, kind of like if I don't have it, kind of out of luck. So I'm having to purchase all of these giant sockets I might use only once or twice. And the thing I took for granted the most was an AC machine. I have,
They're expensive.
I have to buy AC gauges now. And I've always had this roll around AC machine with the screen on it and the buttons and
We do get spoiled. When I left my shop and I started having to do like manual old school again, I was like, where's my automatic evacuate and pull in a vacuum button?
you just push the button and you walk away. It's recovered all the freon and okay, pull a vacuum on it for I don't know 45 minutes
Right?
at the buttons.
We don't realize how spoiled we are until we don't have it anymore. So you are going field service. They don't supply the do they supply the truck at least that you're
So
taking out for field service?
yes, they supply the truck. We have gauges in the tool room, but the thing is, there's 20 something field service techs. I might be an hour and a half from the shop.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna drive an hour and a half back, and every time we come, to the shop and go back to the job site, that's charging the customer. Customer's not going to be very happy about that.
So you have the choice in a sense, and you're choosing to buy your own stuff so that you can take care of the customer better.
Yes. So
The world needs more people like you.
the main goal is not to necessarily make, yes, we're making money off of the customer, but the goal is to take care of the customer. It's not my company's job to pull me and support me. It's my job as a technician to pull the company and help the company grow. Because without them, I don't have a job.
And yet, without you, they would have no business. And not just you, as in just you, but technicians in general, right?
Yeah.
But what a phenomenal attitude.
That's one of the things that a lot of the new generation of technicians coming in, and I don't know if I experienced this in the trucking industry and heavy equipment. I'm sure automotive is very similar, but a lot of the younger technicians don't realize that. You don't have to be there. They don't have to have you. They hired you because they want you there. You need pride in your work. A lot of technicians don't do that anymore. And I don't.
I feel like there's a double, like there's kind of two sides to that, right? Because like with the trade deficit, they do need us. And so I think, yes, you're absolutely right that there's a lot of technicians who don't necessarily take their job seriously or like really see it. Definitely not, they don't see it the way you do. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of management and there's a lot of owners that treat their technicians poorly because they don't realize how like valuable we are and how crucial we are.
Exactly. So it's both sides, and I've been on both sides. That's one of those things I learned from sales. If it weren't for the technicians prepping these machines and taking care of my customers, I wouldn't have any customers.
Right.
So I was very fortunate seeing the other side of it. But I'm really trying to advocate to these younger technicians, especially the females, that hey, you can do it and it is worth working your ass off to for yourself, because one day we aren't going to be in such a deficit and it's going to change again.
Yeah. You've got a phenomenal attitude about it all. You're probably right. The whole, I mean, you're a very intelligent woman, obviously, to begin with. But the experience doing sales and being on the other side of things, I feel like that's one of the things that's lacking on both sides, right? Like management has no idea generally what the experience of a technician looks like.
Correct.
And the technician has no idea what the life of management or sales or service looks like. And people don't necessarily realize like we're all interdependent on one another, and none of us have a job without each other. And we all have headaches with our jobs.
And so I'm trying my hardest to bridge the gap. And luckily, we have several females at our dealership, and oh my gosh, they are phenomenal.
That's awesome.
They're all younger, not so experienced, but they are just so motivated. And I'm like, I wish I had this when I was starting off. Like, I wish there were more females like that in the industry. Not females in general.
The motivated, driven ones.
And I wish there weren't so many unmotivated men in the industry. It goes both directions.
It does indeed. Yes. So do you find yourself mentoring some of the other younger women coming up?
The women, yes. Not the men. I think it's just the generation. Now there's a few that are just, they show up early, they stay late, they bust ass, and I'm like, this is phenomenal. I wish they got a little bit more recognition than they do. And I feel that industry wide.
Yes, absolutely. I think our industry generally does not have do a great job of recognizing technicians and all that they put in.
Right.
Are you noticing a big difference in the younger? I mean, you're still very young as well, but the younger generation coming up, are you seeing a difference in attitude? You're seeing a shift in more women out in the field?
There's a lot more women in the field. I see moving up quicker than the men. The women that are coming in the field now, for the most part, are very strong. They're motivated, and I'm pushing for all of them to do the damn thing. I mean, they're gonna get there. And I know there's several at CAT that want to go into field service, and so now I feel like I need to bust ass 10 times harder than I ever have to be like, hey, I did it. She can do it too. Put her in a truck.
That's a heavy burden in a sense, isn't it?
It is, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, there's moments where I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? I mean, I could go back to the trucking industry and be on top again.
Why are you doing it?
Because I chose to work on heavy equipment because I enjoy it. I signed up and applied for that field service job. I accepted the position because I wanted it. And I'm not going to let any of these men tell me that I can't do it.
And why the burden or the feeling of responsibility to pave that path for the other women? You said you feel more pressure now to work harder.
Because I wish that it had been easier for me. In a sense, I'm glad it's difficult, but at the same time, things are changing with the new generation, and there's a lot of unfairness in the industry that I feel like wasn't there when I started. You would think it would be the opposite.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's because I changed industries or because there have been so many attempts and fails with the younger generation coming in to where the older generation's just kind of given up.
Interesting. Interesting. We're about to run out of time. I just looked at the clock. And I know you're sitting in your truck, so I don't want to keep you much longer, but are you okay with being going a little bit later?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, awesome. What are some of the differences you've seen between the trucking side and the earth moving bigger equipment side?
The mentality is a little bit different. It's more old school on the earth moving side. And I think that's just because it has taken so much longer for the focus of troubleshooting and everything to come into play versus in the trucking industry, using your brain all day has been going on for years. I mean, since I started almost 10 years ago. And it's just kind of been, I don't want to say it's just been swinging hammers, but for the most part, it has been very mechanical. Even putting injectors in an engine has been very mechanical. You don't have wiring, you have a rack, you have to calibrate time, and that's above my head because that's before my time. I hear the guys at work talking about it, and I'm just like, what is this?
Interesting.
But
do you think that's part of why you are seeing more women coming in?
The electrical troubleshooting side,
That like creating the opportunity, you think?
yes, definitely, because most of the women I have seen thrive in the industry have primarily done troubleshooting. They've done engine work, they've done after treatment. I mean, you don't see many of us swinging hammers. And I know several women who do nothing but troubleshoot. They triage when it comes in, and then they send it to the shop to get repaired.
Interesting. Are the shops generally set up that way where you kind of have the diagnostic techs versus the parts replacers, so to speak?
So the trucking industry has been set up like that for several years now. At
Okay.
least at most of the big dealerships.
Okay.
Um, earth moving, it's like that in a sense as to where the more experienced technicians go out in the field and they diagnose, and if it's something they can't fix out there, they send it to the shop. But recently, we have designated a master technician to go out in a pickup truck instead of a big CDL truck and diagnose and figure out problems that nobody else can figure out. And I'm really glad it's going in that direction. Not necessarily glad it's going in the diagnostic direction because that's kind of what I specialize in. Glad that the industry's starting to embrace it
Yeah.
and kind of adapt to it instead of just being like, oh, well, we've done it this way for 100 years. We're going to keep doing it this way.
Yeah. Was it different at all as a woman between trucking and heavy equipment, specifically as a woman?
Yes.
Less accepting, I assume.
Yes, much less accepting. To this day, I still have trouble, I guess, making friends with my coworkers, getting along versus the trucking industry. I eventually made a name for myself. I got along with everybody.
It takes time, doesn't it? You'll
Even
get there.
Oh yeah, even though I have this reputation in the trucking industry, I came into equipment and they're like, "Oh well, it's not a truck. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's
Right.
the girl. She doesn't belong here."
Like starting all over.
That's exactly what it is.
Did you expect that? Or
Yes,
was it a little surprising?
it was expected, but once it actually happened, I was like, "Shit, like,
Oh,
what do I do?" Because I've become so accustomed to people knowing who I am and this kind of respect that I have gained over the years. When I come into heavy equipment and they're just like, oh, who's this little girl?
time. You'll get there. But that's I can imagine that's like it's like starting all over.
It is, which I'm okay with it because I still have a lot to learn, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. Don't we all? If somebody were to throw me in doing any of the things that you are doing, like there is, whew, yeah. I have no clue. Oh my goodness. Well, it is clearly pitch black where you are right now at this point. It is nighttime. I should be letting you go. Are you driving home? Or are you going back into work? Like, what's happening now?
I am driving home.
Okay, good. Good. To get some sleep and take some time, hopefully. Good. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. This was so awesome. It was such a pleasure to meet you. You have an absolutely phenomenal attitude. And I don't know if you're seeing some of the comments that have been scrolling through, but everybody is just saying how incredibly bright and talented and passionate you are, and how everybody has zero doubt that you're going to be hugely successful. So there's a lot of great support coming through, and 100% I agree with all of them. I'm excited to continue following your career and seeing where you end up in the next several years. It's pretty exciting. And I wish you all the luck in the world with your new transition, with your new field service job. It's going to be exciting and challenging and wonderful all at the same time.
I will definitely keep you up to date on it.
Please do. Please do. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to let you go home. Everybody who's tuned in to watch, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. I hope you've enjoyed meeting Haley. Make sure you go follow her and give her some love and support. Follow along on her adventure. And make sure that you guys come back next week. We've got another incredible woman that you guys get to meet. So until next week, be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and we'll see you later. Have a great night. Bye, Haley.